Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. How's it going, all you Minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for my overview of all of these upcoming trades and hardcovers from Marvel Comics this week. So let's go ahead and get started. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of these books. All these books will be due out into direct market and book market on October 22nd and 23rd. Now, apologies ahead of time because I just got my voice back, getting back. Went to New York Comic Con, and oh my gosh, woke up today and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to film. But here we are. I think I'll be okay. Normally I do talk a lot, so we'll see. But yes, these are all of the books that are coming out October 23rd or 24th, depending on where you get your books. Or, 22nd and 23rd. And we have a modern epic, a reprint of a classic epic, a new Masterwork line, and then, of course, one ongoing series and one mini-series that I have been waiting to read. Now, before I go any further, please don't forget to smash that like button. That goes a long way for us here on the channel. Very small thing you can do, but it means the world to us. And also a reminder that in the description of the video, I do put timestamps in case you're curious about one or two titles. All right, let's go ahead and actually start with Captain Marvel. Here we have Captain Marvel by Alyssa Wong, Volume 2. This is The Undone. And who exactly is The Undone? Well, it all started with the first volume with the whole mystery about what exactly is going on with Janice Fell. So this collects Captain Marvel issues 6 through 10. That is the 2023 series. And of course, by Alyssa Wong. Ruairi Coleman is the penciler, as well as the inker, and Roberto Poggi is also doing the inks. Brian Valenza, the colorist, and then Ariana Mayer, the letterer. Now, if you haven't read Volume 1, there'll be some talk of spoilers in here, just in case. Okay, so in the first volume, we did see the return of my favorite Captain Marvel, and that is Janice Fell. However, he didn't last that long. Something ended up happening where he ends up with a hole in his freaking chest, and now he is being taken over by this particular force. The thing that is pulling the strings, named the Undone. So what Janice Fell is trying to do is capture the Negabands and absorb them. And part of the Negabands, if you've been keeping up with what's going on in the Marvel Universe, belong to these two characters right there, Wiccan and Emperor Hulkling, who is now in charge of the whole Skrull and Kree Empire, and their guardian right here, L'Oreal. So it's really cool that Alyssa Wong is bringing in all these characters from Carol Danvers' life. We also have one of my other favorite Captain Marvel characters, and that is Phyla-Vell. But the problem still is there, that the Undone has taken over Janice Fell, and he is trying to get those bands that are now part of their wedding rings, no matter what. So we still have the whole thing between Captain Marvel switching out with the character of Una. And we learn a little bit more about Una's personal life. And now this Omen / Captain Marvel, or I guess Janice Fell, is moving on to the personal life of Una and starting to take over different parts of, I guess, the rest of the Marvel Universe until it gets overpowered and until it gets whatever it wants. And what it wants is right there, to capture the rest of the Negabands. Now, there are some sacrifices that are made here and some decisions that are made that will change a couple of the characters here. But, that's until, of course, the next time when they need those things back. Now, this book, it's also good to see Rick Jones still traveling the world with his guitar. This book collects Captain Marvel 2023, issues 6 through 10. It has 112 pages and retails for $15.99. Let's look in the back here, because there's just a couple. And I mean, just a couple of variant covers. There are some in between the issues, but these are ones in thumbnail size in the back. Finally, I got to read Blood Hunt, and man, did I really have a lot of fun with this one. So, this is the actual event, Blood Hunt. You're going to see trade paperbacks are like Blood Hunt, Captain America, Blood Hunt, Dracula, Blood Hunt Marvel Universe, Blood Hunt Daredevil. And part of the Blood Hunt is also an ongoing series like the Fantastic Four. Damn it. I read the Fantastic Four before reading this, and I kind of saw the ending of this happening. So it wasn't so much a surprise, but that is what happens when you're reading about a connected universe. If you don't want to know anything, read this first, because this is the 5-issue miniseries that tells you what the main story arc is about. Jed McKay, Pepe Larraz with Sarah Pacelli doing the comic book day, free comic book day issue. Marte Gracia doing the coloring right there with a couple of other folks, and Corey Petit doing the main part of the lettering. So this book has 152 pages and retails for $19.99. Now people have asked me, is this the red band version of this story? I don't think so. I mean, it's gory, it's bloody, it's violent, but I think from the pages that I looked up, the red band version is a lot more gorier. So awesome. I mean, maybe one day there'll be a director's cut. I don't know. Now, it all starts off with this character named Dr. Dork. Had to do that. Spider-Man did it. Dr. Dark. Dr. Dark is attacking Spider-Man, and then something ends up happening where the darkness just ends up taking him. And then it is revealed that it's not the darkness, it's actually the Dark Force dimension that is absorbing these characters that have had something to do with the dark side. Kind of like Cloak, kind of like Silhouette. And, well, it's giving a little bit of something away if you're not reading the new Moon Knight as well. We do have the return of this young lady right there, and that's Brielle, and she is the daughter of Blade. Now, she can sense something is going on, and then Dracula appears. Dracula appears stating that the world is coming to an end, and unless she takes his hand, they're all doomed. Like, the entire world is going to get destroyed. So as you find out in the first issue, what is happening, it's the Dark Force is just spreading around the world, blocking out the sun. Now, why do this? Because it is a full-fledged on attack by the vampires to destroy humanity as it is. And of course, the heroes aren't going to stand by that, right? They're going to go ahead and attack. So Blade is involved, and a couple of other characters are involved through here. And there is one big bad that is pulling the strings. Now, I don't want to spoil who that is, or what that is. But you will be grateful for all those collections of the Marvel Comics Presents you had from the 90s. The Avengers get involved, and then they get taken out by these new group of, well, some of these are new. These are part of the Bloodstorm. These are the new baddies that appear through here. Well, some of them are new. It's a group of super powerful vampires that have mixed their blood with that of people with superpowers and have developed their own powers. And man, they are just taking out the Avengers left and right. I know it's a trope we've seen left and right in the past. Well, I just said left and right twice. Ooh. That's on me. But it's also something that I enjoy. It's a tropey thing that I do enjoy when a big bad new villain shows up and wipes the floor with the badass of the team. So yes, it does take, like, they end up taking a lot of the key players here. They end up taking T'Challa and Thor and Vision. So some of the Avengers end up escaping, and they're going to need the help of Doctor Strange. Now, this is when Blade gets involved, and Blade's like, look, you know, these vampires are coming. They did this darkness, and they are set out to destroy everything. So we're going to need your help, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange does end up helping in a unique way, as well as Dracula and the Midnight Mission. And everybody has their own thing to do. So as far as the collection itself, everything you need is in here because it's the 5-issue miniseries, right? It starts off with this mystery as to who's pulling the strings, who's creating all these vampires. That's right, because once you're bitten, you're going to be a vampire, and you're going to be on the side of the villains. And then, of course, what's going to end up happening with the rest of the good guys? Like, are they going to be able to turn back? This being, you know, superhero comics, of course, we're going to have a Miles Morales comic ongoing. There could be some lasting effects after you read that final issue, but I will let you find out what that means exactly. There are some things in here that I cannot wait for an omnibus collection of. And I'm not saying there's one. I'm not saying that I'm announcing any. It's just that I think it would read better for like fattening up those particular issues that are talking about like Brielle and her adventure with Dracula. Now, this is just the 5-issue miniseries, and I think it reads fine as it is. You're going to get the beginning of the story of these new villains that are taking over, who's really pulling the strings, and then, of course, what the good guys are doing. And the good guys are going to be separated. Like, they're going to be going into different missions. I can't wait to see how they decide to collect this, and I'm not saying there's going to be an omnibus one day, although there is enough material because it'll be a big collection, that I like to see how that's mapped, because there are stories in here that I wanted to read about personally, because they talk about like Bloodline when she goes off with Dracula, and she said, "Woo, what a wild adventure," just in one panel, and you're like, what did they do by the time they get back in issue number 4? Things like that. And also, I wanted to see exactly how big of a role the Midnight Mission played, how big of a role the Avengers played. And it does help that, of course, Jed MacKay is writing those particular stories as well. As far as like the Fantastic Four and all that, yeah, you get the whole idea that, hey, it's all darkness, and here we are. And honestly, if they keep the Fantastic Four issues in between issues like 4 and 5, it will really spoil what happens at the end of this. So hopefully those will be collected in the back. And here I go rambling on how things should be mapped, or how I would like to see things. But this book has 152 pages. Let's go all the way in the back and look at some of the extras right here. Those are awesome. The Fangs variants, Peach Momoko variants, some in splash page and some in thumbnail size. And some of the stuff that you're seeing on the variants didn't happen in the book. But that's just variants, right? And that is Blood Hunt, Incredible Hulk, Epic Collection, Future Imperfect. This is the new printing. I have given away my original printing for one of our giveaways, so I don't have it here to compare it to. But this time around, this is $49.99. I want to say the original printing was $39.99, if I'm not mistaken. And please correct me if I'm wrong. And here we have the credits. Of course, we're looking at the Peter David era of the Fantastic Four. Of what? The Fantastic Four? No, of the Hulk. Man, I think I haven't recovered yet from lack of sleep from this past weekend. And then you have, of course, your pencilers. This is mainly the Gary Frank era of the Incredible Hulk. But this is called Future Imperfect, meaning that this legendary person right here, George Perez, is also on the credits, as well as all these other wonderful folks. Cam Smith supplying a lot of the inks, actually the majority of the inks for Gary Frank. Glennis Oliver, majority of the coloring, and then Joe Rosen was the main letterer at the time, but all these other folks helping out. This collection does portray characters dealing with suicide and sexual assault. There are things in here. Oh my gosh, I think that issue, the suicide issue, is actually from a Christmas issue, if I'm not mistaken. So collecting in this particular book is The Incredible Hulk 407 to 419, annual number 20, Hulk Future Imperfect 1 and 2, Incredible Hulk Ashcan Edition, material from Marvel Holiday Special number 3. This book has 504 pages, and again, retails for $49.99. And it's so cool to see Gary Frank's art style here. I just had the pleasure of interviewing him this weekend, telling him I was a big fan. Starting with his run on The Incredible Hulk, just how much they were trying to make sure that they were still matching it up to that art style that Dale Keown had developed, and of course he had influenced by John Byrne. So it's really cool that they were trying to do that, and I mean they kept it. I mean mainly due to the inks. Now this is Paul Pelletier telling a little bit of the Pantheon backup stories. So we do see the return of Madman. We have this new creepy character known as Piecemeal. They play a part here. We see some Marvel UK characters of Kill Power and Motormouth that appear through here. In case you weren't buying Marvel UK, wrapping up the storyline with the Madman. We see Margot and Rick's relationship go in that direction right there. And well, I mean, it's a wedding picture, so we'll be talking a little bit about that. And at this time, it is important to note that it is the Smart Hulk era, when it is Bruce Banner's brain inside of what I like to call the Handsome Hulk era. And, of course, that's something that was developed by Peter David. It's like a mix of gray, it's a mix of green, and yeah. We not only get a special appearance here from this guy that looks a lot like Mr. Bean, but a particular character from the Distinguished Competition shows up through here. We have the whole fight here with Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., because at this time, yes, it is the Hulk in the world of the Pantheon. Now, did I say Pantheon? The Pantheon. And this is Paul Pelletier drawing this particular issue of the Incredible Hulk with the his cousin She-Hulk fighting against the Bi-Beast and the Stranger. Always a fan of Paul Pelletier's artwork. He actually did the artwork in the She-Hulk issues. This, if I'm not mistaken, comes from the Marvel Holiday Special. This is the one about one of the members from the Pantheon who was just a mechanic that is attempting to commit suicide. And Peter David just pulling at your heartstrings. It's a powerful read. Now, we do end up leading into this thing called the Trojan Saga, where Atlanta, and that is not spelled the same way as the city, is taken back to her world by a couple of other characters that we hadn't seen before. One of them being named Trauma. And that is a 4-part issue. There is a little bit of a death that happens in there. And we have this appearance of this young lady that leads into one big story arc. The Starjammers get involved. Silver Surfer gets involved. And again, that little cameo that will become important in this. Oh, yes. Future Imperfect. And what an amazing story this is. I think I've talked about this story in the Omnis and in other collections that I've had, maybe in the Hulk reading order. And this is all set in this possible future. And this is where you get the full story of who exactly this strange girl was that was approaching Rick Jones. And that is none other than this lady named Janice Jones. Now, is she related to Rick Jones? Maybe. This is where the Hulk ends up, and he wants to know who is behind imprisoning all these people. Who are all these Piss Fizz and Scooter and the Cord? Oh, who else was there? There's a couple of other characters who were part of that team. And who is this guy calling himself Maestro? What happened to the heroes in this future? Well, as you learn from Janice, the heroes are no more. And a lot of it has to do with the character of Maestro. And the trophy room? Oh my gosh. Enough said, right? Gosh. What a freaking... almost dropped the F-bomb there. Woo. Good thing I censored myself. What a freaking amazing story. Just, you know what? Hell with it. This gets my pick of the week. This is the seal of approval for this week. Because this story alone is worth this entire epic collection if you haven't read it. I will let you know exactly how the story ends by reading it. There are some ramifications of that story that Hulk has to deal with. But that's okay because we have a bachelor party to go to. And then a wedding issue. That's right. We ain't got time to sit there and moan about things that are happening in a possible future. We've got to worry about the wedding of Rick Jones and Margot. So everybody's invited, including Betty. And one character making an appearance here. Perhaps coming over from the side of the Distinguished Competition. Giving her a little bit of a gift. This is the Roger Cruz villain issue with the fight against the Skrull right there. And then the Abomination-focused annual. And a bunch of the backup stories, including some more of the Pantheon. And this is the wedding album and the Ashcan edition. I like this right here. The official wedding list. Who is invited, who should be sitting away from who because of some of the feuds, and just a little bit of synopsis of the Incredible Hulk. This is a page in honor of Jack Kirby that appeared in Incredible Hulk 417. My goodness, Betty. I forgot she made it into the swimsuit issue. And then different trade paperback covers and collections of Future Imperfect. The book, again, has 504 pages and retails. The book, again, has 504 pages and retails for $49.99. And that is the Incredible Hulk Epic Collection, Future Imperfect. Captain America Modern Era Epic Collection, Death of the Dream. Now, when I'm going to be talking about what is collected in here, there is a title that will spoil something that happens in this particular Epic Collection. So before I even open it up, spoilers, because I ain't the one to go and piss anybody off. I get yelled at enough. I get yelled at enough by folks that are like, you spoiled that story. And then there are other people like, who cares? That story's 20 years old. Trying to stay in the middle here, folks. And let me tell you, sometimes it's difficult. All right, here we go. Captain America. Here's the breakdown of each of these story arcs. Ed Brubaker writing a majority of them, but you also have Jeff Loeb coming in and writing something called Fallen Sun. And Steve Epting, Mike Perkins, Lee Weeks, your main contributors to the Ed Brubaker run. And then you have different artists focusing on each of the different stages of grieving. So collected in here is Captain America 18 through 30, issue number 25, the director's cut, the Winter Soldier Winter Kills one-shot, Fallen Sun, the Death of Captain America 1 through 5. This book is huge. It has 520 pages and retails for $49.99. And if you have the omnibus editions of these Ed Brubaker books, the Omnis do not collect that Fallen Sun miniseries by Jeff Loeb. Just want to let you know in case you're a completist and you're like, oh, I want to read the whole thing. Damn it. Now I got to get this. Anyway, just letting people know. So we are at the very beginning. We just had the return. Minor spoilers for what happened previously in the volume 1 here of the modern era. Okay. We had the return of the Winter Soldier, who is, as it turns out, is Bucky Barnes, the original Bucky. That's right. James is back. And he is living in the present day. How could this be? Captain America has a team up with Union Jack and Spitfire to fight against Master Man and the rest of his horrible goons. So he does make a trip around the world to go and do that. We start seeing how the character of James Barnes is adapting to life here because he still feels guilty for a lot of the things that he did. There's a really powerful moment where he kind of faces one of his biggest regrets. And I thought the way that he handled it was beautiful. And then after the whole Master Man thing, we have something that, affected the entire Marvel Universe. And that is the Civil War storyline, where Captain America and Iron Man are on opposing sides. And that leads into, eventually, Captain America's big fight with him. Now, none of the Civil War issues are in here, but you do get recaps of some of the most important things that happen in that Civil War. So this is Civil War 24, or I'm sorry, Captain America 24. And by the time you get to 25, sometimes the variant covers, by the way, opposite side of the standard edition cover. This is the Winter Soldier Kills one shot right here. Again, the character of Winter Soldier, dealing with some of his past, and this time starring the Young Avengers. I love that. The more they gave Young Avengers a spotlight, the more I loved it. I thought those characters were so underutilized. Now, when we get to Captain America 25, it is very important to at least know what happened in the pages of Civil War that leads to this. So here, it will let you know exactly what happened, what Civil War was even about. But it does lead into the arrest of Captain America. And something that ends up happening to Captain America. Of course, that is the death of Captain America. I don't know how to say it. The damn title is in the book. Fallen Sun, the death of Captain America. Anyway, here we go. This is the first issue. This is the one that's drawn by Lionel Francis Yu, where Wolverine and Daredevil are teaming up, trying to figure out who could have done this. This is the different stages. Remember, like I said, there's different stages of grief, and that's what Jeff Loeb went through with each of the issues here. This one deals with anger, and it is drawn by Ed McGuinness, and it does feature a lot of the Avengers. This is the bargaining. This is John Romita Jr., again, with some of the Avengers right here. and variant covers. And this is Depression. It's killer artwork, too. And then finally, Acceptance with John Cassaday. Rest in peace. What a phenomenal, phenomenal artist. Gone way too soon. And then we get back to the aftermath. So what happens when Steve Rogers gets killed? Who's going to pick up that shield and become the new Captain America? Well, there's Sam Wilson, there's Sharon, who's still feeling a little bit guilty about what had happened in a storyline that's told through here. Sin has a new team of the Serpent Society working with her, along with Crossbones. And then, of course, you saw the Red Skull still hovering around. How does he get to living? Steve Rogers doesn't. Well, this all leads into the new Captain America storyline, which will be collected in the next Epic Collection. Here we have the script, the layouts, and the pages. This is the introduction from the Ed Brubaker Omnibus Volume 1. The cover art right here. And original pages. Golly. Finch's detail is just insane in that 4th issue. Then articles from Marvel Spotlight right here. It's a biggie. 520 pages, retailing for $49.99. And that is Captain America Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 2, Death of the Dream. Last but certainly not least is the Marvel Masterworks, the Man-Thing Volume 1, kicking off a new line of Masterworks. So here we have the very first volume, and underneath the dust jacket, same as all the other Marvel Masterworks. You know what? I'm going to go ahead. I heard you all's plea. I'm taking off the dust jacket. How dare I? Y'all called me names, monster. Sometimes I just like messing with people. Okay, here are your end sheets. Beautiful end sheets. Now, this has been released before in complete collections. There has been, of course, the omnibus, but now we have fully restored artwork for the first time. Man-Things, and written, of course, by the majority of, I think most people would probably say they relate Man-Thing to Steve Gerber, or Steve Gerber to Man-Thing, even though he wasn't the very first person to write the character. So you also have Roy Thomas and Jerry Conway and Len Wein. And then Val Mayerick, Gray Morrow, John Buscema, Neil Adams, Rich Buckler, just to name a few of the artists. Inkers here, Gray Morrow, Dan Adkins, Neil Adams, and Jim Mooney. Lettering by Gray Morrow and John Costanza. And coloring, unfortunately, some of it uncredited. And then Ben Hunt and Stan Goldberg and Petra Goldberg. And your table of contents. Man, I think this is the first time I have felt old. Now, I've seen a lot of like the stuff I've read, old in the sense of like reading a Masterworks has made me feel old, and I'll explain why. Because I have read Masterworks where, especially the last 2 X-Men Masterworks, those are the stories I collected when I was a kid. And now they're being Masterworks, because when I was a kid, I'm like, Masterworks are for old people. They used to collect these stories when they were young. Holy crap, when did I get to be this age? And then this right here. By the way, it's a great introduction. I'm not at all saying it's a bad introduction. This is from Steve Orlando, talking about, you know, just how important Man-Thing was, and even though we're, 50 years separated from when the character first appeared, how the character still endures and how important he is, and how the adventure is less about him, and how are you going to tell a story about a creature that can't even talk. But I'm older than Steve Orlando, so that hits so many different levels of, I think I just realized I'm old. Like, every day, man. A little more here and there. Okay, so collected in here is Astonishing Tales, issues 12 through 13, Fear, 11 through 19, Man-Thing #1, Marvel 2-in-1 #1, and then material from Savage Tales #1, and Fear #10. This book has 320 pages and retails for $75. And yes, you are seeing Conan there because this is where he made an appearance. This is his first appearance, so you have to have the cover. And that cover, yep, the Marvel cover right there. The publication is rated M for mature readers. A little naughty right here, little skimpy outfits here and there. So if you've never read Man-Thing, I actually have talked about this in the past. Oh, it was when I was doing the Man-Thing Mondays. Dang it, I should have done this on a Monday. They're just different collections that were coming out. But this is the story of Theodore Salas, Ted Salas, who is working out in the Everglades, and he's all part of the Dr. Calvin's project. And what happens is that AIM wants this serum that is responsible for something that created Steve Rogers' Captain America. They're trying to recreate it. Now, there is an accident that leads into him getting drenched in said serum and then, thought killed as he's driving away and shot at and going into the swamp to become this Man-Thing. That's what leads into him becoming the Man-Thing. I love that we see some of that in here. It's really cool. And the next time you see him is in those stories of Khazar. So we have a little bit of his origin. Even though his origin later on is kind of retold, like, especially in the pages of Khazar right here, it just happens moments later after the story that we just read in the Savage Tales. And it kind of retells the story of how Ted Salas became Man-Thing. And then we do get, after this, the stories of, and I am going to compare this to the Omnibus, by the way, Adventure into Fear, right here. And this is a really dark opening, man. This is when Jerry Conway wrote this story about somebody throwing a baby off this bridge and Man-Thing catching it. Now people are going after Man-Thing. I love this story. This is such a deep story. But it's not my favorite one. This is issues number 11. This is when Steve Gerber comes on board and tries to figure out exactly what to do with the character of Man-Thing, because it is difficult to write a character that doesn't talk. So it's like, what do you focus on? So he starts building maybe what could be a supporting cast, and then a very, very unique statement about how important Man-Thing and this particular swamp could be. This is my favorite issue right here. This is an early Steve Gerber story, and it's about race and hatred, and it just touches on all these issues that have, been a part of real world problems, more so than any of the other stories that came before in Man-Thing or immediately after. And then we get some world hopping here, not just traveling. We are going to different dimensions eventually. And then we'll get a special appearance. Well, first appearance by one very important feathery character. We see the sky being called Wundar appearing from the stars here. And then we'll start seeing fantasy realms and demon invasions. We have the Marvel 2-in-1, the fight with the Thing in here. And then back to his adventures. And a little bit of retelling his origin story. And back to the fantasy realm, where we are going to see, this is Korik, Prince of Katara, but more importantly, another character that I was talking about earlier. That guy right there, Howard the Duck, who you may have seen in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And then we get Man-Thing in his ongoing series. And I just want to say how much I love this cover here by Frank Brunner. But we do have Howard the Duck still. We have the King the Enchanter. And then, of course, Jennifer Kell continuing the story from the previous issue before that magazine was canceled. And then the extras here. So you have the plot for the very first issue. Roy Thomas, Gray Morrow's original art right there. John Buscema's and Rich Buckler. Alan Weiss. And then the plot to Adventure into Fear number 16 by Steve Gerber. Original art board and revisions. And then more original art. Gil Kane. And original pages. Monsters Unleashed, number 3. Neil Adams. That is an awesome cover. This is reprinting material from Strange Tales, or Savage Tales, number 1. Monster of Frankenstein 1, and Chamber of Darkness 7. Man-Thing making an appearance right there. And then your biographies on these wonderful creators. Some no longer with us, and some are still here. And other Marvel Masterworks. Now, as I promised, I said I was going to quickly and I mean quickly do a little comparison here with, well, I guess this is the first printing of the Man-Thing book, because wanted to, yeah, there was no Masterworks here. Go ahead and compare the artwork. We'll look at a little bit darker here in the Omnibus edition. So let's actually, yeah, it's a little, oh wow, yeah, that's, well, at least the scans are really dark over here. I don't think that's the paper stock. That's actually the scans. This looks more detailed. Okay, we're gonna not go through every page, I promise, and I'll look at some color pages. Yeah, you can tell a little bit more of the fine lines here. And as I've mentioned before, you know, this is definitely for people that love attention to detail and can definitely tell the difference between something like a Blu-ray and a 4K, right? That's the way I've always described it. There are people that can, and then some people are like, what? I don't see it. But, I mean, you can definitely tell it's a lot lighter, so you can see more of the details instead of these big shadows that you have right there. Because they, oh man, that is beautiful. Now you get this, which you didn't get there. Let's see here. So here we have some colored pages. Again, the colors looking a little bit more, I don't want to say faded, because this is truer to that of the original printing of the original comic. Still printed on, of course, glossy paper stock. So it is going to look a little bit more, I don't think modern is the right word. But yeah, you don't get the heavy lines like this, like the inks. You get finer lines, finer detailed lines. And that's the beauty of these restorations. We'll get to some swamp action here in a little bit. Just to do a quick little comparison here in between the Omnibus and the Masterworks. And of course, the artwork in the Omnibus looking just a little bit bigger, because this is standard size and the Omni is oversized format. Okay, let me look at the actual Man-Thing ongoing series here, and the colors just looking so much more detailed than what you get over here with the black shadows. Over here you can actually see those fine lines, and I hope the video actually does it justice, because I think sometimes when I show this, I don't think even this camera, that's like a freaking 4K camera, can't capture exactly what these little details look like, but it is beautiful, like beautiful restoration. Nothing wrong with this. I still think this is great. I love it. It does have a black frame just like this, but this really is just touching up these pieces of art, not just the covers, but also the internal artwork here. as well. So even that shade of blue is different over here than it was over here. You can tell a little bit more of his facial expression than over there. And the last page. Okay. And that is it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsors. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $200 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these books. Let me know in the comments down below which you already have an omnibus edition and still passing even though it's got more content, or which you are hoping does eventually get an omnibus one day. Whatever that is, let me know in those comments and what epics you collect. Any questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.